I'm going to show you a technique for using your scrap fabrics to make a doll, and this is in the hoop doll, this is the Easy Elf pattern that I have, but you can use this with most any doll pattern. I'm just making sure that when I lay my scraps down on the placement stitches, that when I put the hemostats in to turn this right side out later, they don't get caught. You're going to see that's going to happen a little bit anyway, but I'm just trying to make sure that I'm layering so that the hemostat will glide from one fabric onto the other. That's why sometimes you'll see me, this is sped up 4 times, but you'll see me just kind of running my fingers over to show you how I'm trying to prevent the fabric from getting caught here. And I'm just laying scraps to cover that placement stitch. This is the front of the doll, and it's right side up. All of these pieces are right side up. And you'll see me playing around. I mean, I had them with a vertical. If you have a vertical where fabric meets up and down, that's going to be a little bit more of a problem. You may have to fix that later. Usually the horizontal just like have stripes. The fabric pieces going across. That works a little better, but you can shift them and make them a little diagonal too, like I'm doing here. And I don't really like those 2 white ones together, so I'm trying to like find something else here that I like better. Most of these are still stretch fabrics. These dolls, the particular pattern that I'm using here works better with stretch fabrics. You don't have to use stretch fabrics, but it is much easier to turn right side out when you do. And now I have run the tack down stitch. If the pattern doesn't have a tack down stitch, you can always just go repeat the placement stitch and it'll tack down that first layer. And now I'm placing the back fabrics. So I'm doing these right side down and doing the same thing as before, just piecing them together wherever I want them. I'm using bigger pieces this time. I also have that mesh, that fishnet mesh fabric that I'm using, and folding it over was a really bad idea. You'll see that later. I don't recommend using something with a lot of holes in it for this technique, much less 2 layers of it right together. That did cause me problems later, and you'll see that. I'm not going to edit that out. And then I'm just putting this on the machine to run the seams, so it's doing the entire body seam here. And this particular pattern, it's an elf pattern. It has a little triangular hat, so I'm going to cut away the excess fabric and create a little hat here. It has to be on the fold. And I'm like, oh, let's just add some little bits of fabric into the seams and make the hat scrappy too, so I did. Again, this is sped up 4 times regular speed. This whole process, start to finish, took maybe 2 hours. And a lot of that was starting and stopping the video camera. That's why you see me messing with the mouse all the time. Just cutting it out. This particular pattern also has a cutting line, so you can see there's the seam and then there's a line about 1/8 to 1/4 inch away from the seam, and that can be your cutting guide. You don't have to use it, you can if you want. That's the hat, so I don't want to lose that or cut the fold away. And okay, that's the hat. I like that scrappy hat. When you're cutting out this particular doll pattern or any pattern that has those curves, you want to make sure you get really close to the seams when you clip. And again, most of these are stretch fabrics, so they do not unravel and fray, so I can cut really close to my seams. That's one of the reasons I prefer stretch fabrics. Just clipping around the neck, around the thumbs, on top of the feet, clipping all of those inside corners. Now the fun part, turning these right side out is one of the more difficult difficult steps to do, especially on these dolls that have the really skinny arms and legs. It can be done, but you'll see, I had to kind of restart several times. The feet were kind of easy. I had a little hole there. I'll fix that later. You'll get to see that. This foot gave me problems. Okay, got the legs turned. And again, this is 4 times regular speed. I'm showing that you can see the hemostats. I'm using a stabilizer. This is no-show mesh on both the top and the bottom. So that's really what's holding this doll together. All of those fabric scraps are just kind of stitched into the seams. But if you can see your hemostats through that stabilizer, that means that it's not under the fabric. It's not between the front and back sides of fabric. And then you need to pull those hemostats out and try again. These arms gave me a lot of trouble, especially because of those thumbs. So not the best pattern to use for this technique, but it is doable. I was able to do it. I just had to start over a few times, mainly because that fishnet that I used kept, like, my hemostats kept going in the wrong way. So I would not use that again. Fabric choice is very important here. But it's just scraps, so if it doesn't work out, throw it in the trash and start another one. I mean, that's part of the beauty of this, is you're not using expensive fabric. I have a divot in my finger from my hemostats, so I switched to my favorite pair, which is less than $5 at Walmart. Should have been using it all along. Finally, the neck and the arms are getting turned, but that fishnet's really in my way. I can't talk now. It looks really cool though. All right, so it is now turned right side out. I really had to struggle with this one. Those are usually much easier to do for me, but this one was quite a struggle. From there, I mean, you can just follow your regular directions for whatever doll you're making. I'm putting a wire armature in this one, and you really have to dive the neck and the arms in there, kind of manhandle it to get the wire armature in. But I prefer the armatures in my dolls because that makes them posable and really brings them to life. And you can you can turn them into stop motion puppets too. I like those little thumbs. It's like the doll is like, hey, like Fonzie with the thumbs up. I always think that. Then lightly stuffing. Because it's got the wire armature, I don't need to stuff it firmly. I just need to pad it a little bit to fill it out. And that's all I really do. And you'll see some sculpting here in a minute. I decided I'm not going to try to get stuffing into those arms. They don't really need it anyway. The shoulders do need it, but the arms and neck don't. And then of course the body needs a lot of stuffing. And I'm showing how I'm getting the stuffing in front of the armature and then also in the back. So you want to make sure that it's padded on both front and back. You don't want that to poke out. And then I put 2 wads of stuffing between the stabilizer and the fabric for a little butt. I love that part. And in the front, I want to give it a little pot belly there. And I decided there's too much mesh, so I'm going to cut some of that away. And I'm just going from where the fabric started and putting a little bit of extra stuffing, again, between that stretch fabric and the stabilizer. And that's how you can get sculpting when you're using a stretch fabric. It's nothing like, you don't have to needle sculpt or anything like that. Just use stretch fabric and you can get a lot of 3D effects. Most of these stretch fabrics came from the thrift store. I buy like these black and white striped shirts and things like that. And then I use them for all different things. You can just cut them into pieces, and then I save all my scraps. And then, you know, every year or so I'll make something with scraps like these. Now I'm going to use a lot of hot glue because I'm going to add a little bit more fabric bits on. And you could hand stitch them, but I love this fabric glue sticks from, what is this? Surebonder. The Surebonder fabric hot glue sticks work really well for me. Could cut a little hole in fabric and make a cape, but I decided against that for this one. And I'm just gluing and tucking little bits of fabric between those pieces. I mean, it's really that simple. It looks complicated, but it's really not. The turning is the hardest part. Another little piece, just kind of add that in. I'm just kind of looking at what's missing, like where is there too much block of one color, and then just tuck little bits of fabric in. After you've stuffed it, you can just glue the two layers together or stitch. I don't even bother stitching the stabilizer layer back together unless if you're firmly stuffing, you should, but these are so lightly stuffed that it's fine. It doesn't need it. Just pulling away some of the little pieces of glue, adding, gluing things down. And now I'm going to go and get a little bauble here. This is a brad from the scrapbooking aisle. Trying a few different heads to see what I like here. These were already made in advance. I have tons of doll heads. No, don't like that. This one, yeah, I like that. The black hair looks really good. Oh yeah, with the hat, of course. Okay, I like her already, but I'm not done. I'm gonna keep playing. It could be done at this point, certainly. Just kind of posing her around to see, like, am I done? Or nope, not done. I'm gonna add some wire. This is something I found in the wedding floral aisle, these little beads on wire, and I'm putting a jingle bell through that, which it took me a while to figure out to bend the ends of the wire to get it through the bell. Quite the puzzle. Her hair was not attached yet. That's just some curly fleece for the hair. Any kind of faux fur works for that. So I'm attaching that because I'm going to glue the hat on and I have to have the wig attached or it's just all going to come falling off. There's no right or wrong way to do this. Just play around with it. I mean, this is really an exercise in play. You're using scraps. You can, I mean, it's some stabilizer, but really you're not using a lot of expensive fabric. It's very minimal because you're playing around with scraps. So you can really play around, make mistakes, try things, take them off, do whatever you want. The whole point of this is really to experiment and play with your creativity. You see, I also added a few like rhinestones, and there's that little hole in the foot, so I missed the seam there. And I thought, well, let's give her some little like pointy shoes. So I've got a floral wire, just gonna glue that in place. And that will give me the form that I can curl the toe up for a shoe. There are some shoes that I have in my shop. There's a little pattern that you can make with your embroidery machine and felt. And I could have just put boots on. That really is what I should have done, like hindsight being what it is, but I wanted to try something new. So I'm just wrapping this linen around to make a boot. It turned out okay. It's not my favorite. It's kind of a lengthy process. And I just wrap it all the way up to the tip and then put some glue in there and twist so that it gives me a nice sharp tip. There was a spot that had a bulge in it, so I'm just going to try to cover that up with another strip. So that's a scrappy little boot with a pointed toe. I'm going to repeat that for the other foot. I'm just trimming away the extra threads because the linen that I used was coming unraveled. Okay, now I'm just like playing around. I've got these little rhinestone-y things. I'll just put a little button on there. Again, it's just playing around. I've got a lot of materials that I can play with, and it's fun to just pull them out and start sticking them on and see what happens. Had some glue showing, so here's my little secret. I use a Sharpie to cover up the white glue. She needs some rosy cheeks. This is just eyeshadow I got at the Dollar Tree, and I just keep putting it on until I actually start seeing it on the camera starting to show up. I don't use a lot of makeup, so I always do it too light, and I've learned that if I keep putting it on until it shows up on the camera, then it's done. That's a good amount. Let's throw her head off and try a bow. That's too big. Let's cut that into a little bow tie. That's better. Okay, I'm starting to really like her at this point. I'm going to go ahead and I'm not attaching her head to the body, but I'm going to do a running stitch around the head opening, and then I'll tie that in a knot so that it grips onto that wire armature. There's a loop at the top of the neck on the wire, and when you do this running stitch and you pull that knot, it will that wire loop from the armature will hold the head in place. And then you can swivel the head around too, so it's a really nice technique. I like this a lot. It's very fast too. Except that I'm trying to bury the threads, and I'm trying to thread the needle 2 threads at a time, which really I should have just done it 1 at a time. It would have been quicker, but... Okay, clean her up. She's almost ready for her photo op. There she is. You can do different poses in the arms, all kinds of things, turn her head around. I really like how she turned out. Sometimes I don't, sometimes I do. This one I do.